Hey guys, how are you all? Hope so you all are doing well. So let's start the story without any further conversation. This is the part of I start the series. Okay, two beautiful boys is running in the kitchen until the old lady come. Mrs. Min, Jimin, Jiang, what you both are doing? Jimin, auntie, he is running. I don't do anything. Mrs. Min, you are jumping, she said, and Jimin make a pouch and Jay starts giggling. Jimin roll his eyes, Mrs. Kim, and why you are laughing like this? I said you both clean the guest room. But no, you don't listen me. Young mom, I go and do Mrs. Kim. Mrs. Kim, no need to stay here one like a, she said Jan. Okay, so both girls. Jiang, what happened with mom? Who's coming? Jimin, I don't know. Let's do her work. Jiang, the pancake is mine, he said, and Jimin ran behind him. Okay, so they are running in the kitchen cause of the pancakes, as both is the big fan. Both are best friends, so it's important to run like this. Mm. Mrs. Kim come and sit on the couch. Mrs. Kim, what I do with both of them? Granny, what happened now? What my kids did? Mrs. Kim, I said them clean the guest room, but but they, they are not listening. Granny, guest room? Why? Mrs. Kim, young father, friend son is coming here for from London. He have to some land or something like this. So I said them clean the guest room, but they don't listen. Granny, they do. It's okay, Mrs. Kim. You don't let me. You don't let me. Said them anything, mom. Granny, they are kids. They are kids, Jimin. Son, you both. Son, you both do the breakfast. Jiang, first us. Give us work and now asking, he said, and sit beside Jimin. Mrs. Kim, it's okay. You both don't do any work. Young mom, granny, okay, silent. She could speak something. They heard the car voice. Jimin looked at Young, being confused. Mrs. Kim, you both go in the kitchen and bring some refreshments. Jiang, why? Who come? Mrs. Kim, don't talk, don't ask questions, do as I said. She said, and they both ran, and then the maid opened the door. Two men enter in the living room. Both are so. Mrs. Kim smiled to see them. Mrs. Kim, welcome, son. A good journey. Yes, auntie, and he's my friend. Min Yoongi, he stay here. Stay here with us. Min Yoongi. Mrs. Kim nodded. Mrs. Kim, um, most welcome, son. He nodded, and Jungkook see Yoongi. Jungkook Hyung said something. Yoongi, you know well why I am here, he said, and Jungkook sighed. Mrs. Kim talked with them a little bit when Taeyang come out from the kitchen and placed the refreshments in front of them. Mrs. Mim Kim, he is my son Taeyang, and Taeyang, he is your father best friend's son Jungkook, and he is his friend. Taeyang, father's son friend? Mrs. Kim, leave it. Go from here. Jang didn't say anything and go. Mrs. Kim, don't mind. My son is like this. Yoongi, we know. He think, Mrs. Kim, you both must be tired. I said maid to show you your rooms, she said, and they stand up guard. Granny boys both look at her. Granny, don't even try to look at my, she said, then Mrs. Kim sighed. Mrs. Kim, don't mind, come. And they go, and they all go. She showed them He showed them their rooms and Triang come on the terrace. Jimin already sit on the chair and Triang offer him ice cream. Both start to eat. Jimin holds them. Triang don't know the is too long but dad know him well and his friend is also here. Jimin Triang, we clean only one room. He said and Triang's spoon is in the air and both start laughing. Jiang, mom, tell us now. Jimin, it's not new for us, right? Jiang, yeah, well, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And, and they again start to eat ice cream. Jiang, Jimin, you want to see something? Jimin, they are not going anywhere. I see them later. Jiang, you know the one who looks like a bunny is so. It's so. Jimin, really? Jiang, I show you. Jimin, what's his name? Jiang don't know. Mom sent me. He said make about. Jimin, it's okay. I ask now. Jiang, how? Jiang, how? Jimin at him and Jiang understand. They eat their ice cream and they both go downstairs. Both, they both go downstairs. Hmm. Jimin is coming downstairs and see Mrs. Kim. He stopped. Mrs. Kim, you both meet me later, but first go and put this jug of water in this room. And Jimin, don't do anything. Jimin, I don't, auntie, I am so innocent. Mrs. Kim, I know how much innocent you are. She said, don't go. Jimin make up out and then go in the kitchen. Or go in the room, sorry. Jimin come in. Jimin come in the room. He look here and there. The bag is on the side and no one is in the room. He placed the jug on the table and about to go, but he stopped when he see the pendant there. He stopped and picked the pendant. The pendant is so shiny. He placed on the side, but someone hold his hand in one go. He about to withdraw, but someone placed his hand on the wall and one hand is on his. So he wants Jimin don't see the person face as the light is in the room. His eyes is widen and it's so fast. Jimin don't know why he's directly looking into his eyes. He don't see the person still now. No one to look in these eyes, but he is doing. Jimin come in. Jimin come in the reality and he roll his eyes here and there. Don't the voice is so and he remove his hand. Jimin is still on the same position watching him. The man hold his hand and take the pendant. The pendant is shining and him the pendant. Jimin is looking into his eyes and so shocked. The man take a step back and again go in the. Jimin is still stand there processing what just happened. And Jimin places his hand on the pendant. He is not understanding. When he do, he didn't waste time and run from there. The door open and the man come out and sit on the bed. He see the jug and he hmm. Jimin come out. Jimin come out from the room. Come downstairs. There he see Taeyang is coming. He hurriedly removed the pendant and placed in his pocket. Taeyang see him and he raised his eyebrow. Taeyang, what happened with you? Why you are looking so? Jimin, Taeyang, what huh? Tell me. Jimin, I see ya. He said, and Taeyang eyes widened. Taeyang, what? Really? I said granny to grandpa photo, but she don't listen me. You must see grandpa. He said and go to tell his granny. Jimin giggled to hear his best friend on. Jimin, granny will surely him. He think and he also run behind him. Okay, so Jimin is like this moody type person. They sit on they sit on the dining table. Chiang is trying to convince his granny to his grandpa photo, and she is not Mrs. Kim Taeyang. What happened? Chiang could reply the others to also come. Mrs. Kim smiled to see them. Jimin is so fast just by the presence of the person, as he don't see the face, he don't know whom he meet. Still he looking down. Chiang, I promise Mom, Jimin, you tell her you see the, he said, and Jimin eyes widen. He look at Taeyang, and then he see the man is looking at him. Jimin with no goal, he know the gaze well. Mrs. Kim, Jimin, huh? No, I don't see anything, Auntie. Taeyang, huh? Jimin sign him. Jimin sign him to stay silent. Taeyang silent. Who make up out, and Jimin again looking down. He is feeling so nervous as he can feel is on him. He start to find something to young Jimin. Here is the spoon, he said, and Jimin nodded, and he started to eat, but it's becoming impossible for him. Mrs. Kim talked with Jungkook for some times. They do the lunch. Young Jimin, you have to go library also, you remember? Jimin nodded, and they do the lunch, but Jimin don't. The man stand up. Mrs. Kim and Granny also go. Chiang is collecting the plates. Jungkook, excuse me, can you give me coffee? Chiang, yeah, sure, he said with a smile and go. Jungkook also go from there. Jimin see no one is here. He about to go, but someone voices enough to make him freeze on his place. Stop. Jimin stopped, and the man went toward him. Yoongi, it's Yoongi, he whispered, and he go from there. Jimin see him. Jimin, Yoongi, he whispered, and place his hand in the pocket and see the panda. It's just some hours he come, and what he is doing. Jimin done from Jimin done from his work and start to walk, as it's already evening. In village less people stay out. It's already winter. Jimin is feeling he is walking fastly, and then he feels someone is behind him. He first don't turn, but then he turn and see two. He fast his speed and almost start to run. Jimin turn two and three times and see they are still wing him. Jimin becomes so his eyes turn, and then someone person, and he hide his face. The rain start to make Jimin more. He don't know who. He just feeling peace. He know for now only he can him. Only he can him. And okay, which he for every time he for every after some times Jimin back slowly. After some times Jimin back slowly, and he see the same pendant shining. It's mean he also the same pendant. Jimin up his lashes slowly and meet with the gaze. Same eyes, and he know who's he. Both are silent, and because of the rain, Jimin see him. He don't know why. Whenever he is him, he feel peace. It's never happens. Even he feel from him to start, but it's he take his step back, and Jimin went toward him. He holds Jimin's hand and start to walk. He is silent. He speaks less. Both are walking. Jimin eyes in on him, and they are walking. And then he stop in front of the house, and Yoongi go inside the house. Jimin is still in the room. He sees Yoongi and also went inside the house. He don't it's time and run in the room. Meanwhile, with Yoongi, both of them, and then he also go in his room after Jimin go. Okay, so the next text is Jimin sit on Jimin sit on the bed after fresh up and see the shiny pendant. Jimin in mind. What's the pendant meaning? What he want to set and he was there. Me if today he don't come then what happened? He think and the thought is enough to make him. Jimin can I go and say thanks to him and give him his pendant back? Yes, it's right. He think and take a deep breath then he go. Jimin knock on Jimin knock on the door but no one speak. He opened the door and see everywhere is the and Yoongi sit on the bed looking outside from the window. Jimin Yoongi, his voice is so low and Yoongi look at him. Jimin don't know he is not feeling from him, and from all this he is feeling like it's all belongs to him. Jimin go and sit in front of him. He don't know why he doing this. Yoongi here. Jimin thanks for today. His voice is almost like a whisper. Yoongi look at him. Jimin and here is your pendant. He said and placed the pendant in front of him. Yoongi, it's your. Jimin, my. Yoongi, He said and looked outside again. Jimin is silent. He don't know what he said here, as Yoongi himself is not saying anything. Jimin stand up. He about to go. Jimin see him. Yoongi again going. Jimin, you are sending me. He said, and Jimin may don't said this, but it's from his. Yoongi stand up and turn him. Jimin see him. Both are the of moonlight. Yoongi miss me? He asked, and Jimin is silent. He don't said anything. He don't he don't know he said he do as he was confused. What he is saying, Yoongi take a step back, Yoongi go. He said then Jimin see him, but he start to go from the room. Jimin come in. Jimin come in his room and close the door. He start to and place his hand on his. Jimin, why you are like this? You can't be for someone like this. You don't even know him, and moreover, see him. How much? Why I miss him? He make a pout and sit on the bed. ऐसा क्या आवाज? ऐसा क्या? Next day, Jimin is in. Next day, Jimin is in the living room when Jungkook come. Jimin, good morning. He greet him. Jungkook also smile. Jungkook, good morning, Jimin. You see Taeyang? Jimin Taeyang. He must be in garden right now. Jungkook, oh, thank you so much, Jimin. No problem. He go and Jimin sit on the couch. His eyes is on the stairs. He is waiting for Yoongi to come, but 10 minutes pass, 20 minutes pass. He don't come. Maid is coming down. Side. Jimin, hey, listen. Maid said, Jimin, you cleared the guest room? Maid, yeah, Jimin, both. Maid, Jimin, how? I mean, Yoongi is still in the room. Maid, no one is in the room and he go early in the morning. He said, then go, Jimin, he go early. He remember and sign. He go in the kitchen. Jimin is working. Jimin is working in the kitchen. He don't know the garden side door is open and someone is watching him. Jimin, give me plate. He said as a thing maid is here, but he don't know no one is here except him and the person. He go and give him the plate. Jimin, not this. He turn and see Yoongi stand in front of him. His ears is he just come after. Jimin can see it. Jimin can see Jimin hands caressing his hair slowly, and then he suddenly back. Jimin, you are here. Yoongi come in the room. He said, then go from the Jimin. Huh? Why I go? Remember, and then start whining Jimin's side, and he go upstairs. Hmm. Jimin come in. Jimin come in the room. He see Yoongi is. Jimin stop at his spot and Yoongi see him from the mirror. Jimin is watching him with his widened eyes. Yoongi turn and Jimin looking down. He closes his eyes. Jimin, your Yoongi do as he said. Jimin, the all he said he do and Jimin see him. One is still open. Jimin, this one also. He said in low voice and Yoongi show him the button. Jimin wait. He take the and start to Yoongi see him. Jimin done with his work and Jimin back. He smile a little bit to look at Yoongi. He smile a little bit to look at Yoongi. अरे बीच में तो वॉइस काफ़ी ज़्यादा है बेटा. Jimin looking down, he is feeling. Jim looking down, he is feeling. He is blushing, but why? Yoongi seeing him. Jimin, why you call me? He said, and he sudden up his lashes to see him. Yoongi didn't say anything, and he go from there. Jimin turned to see him. Jimin, where are you going? He said, and Yoongi stopped. And then they heard a voice. Jimin eyes widened as it's Jungkook. Uh, Jimin, where I go? He said, and Yoongi held his hand and opened the door. He stand in front of the door and Jimin is with the wall. Jungkook stop on the edge. Stop on. Jungkook, you are ready? Let's go. Yoongi, give me 5 minutes, he said, and Jungkook, He go downstairs. Yoongi look at Jimin, who sign. Who sign? Real life. Inside and then see Yoongi. Jimin, if you don't have any work, then don't call me like this, he said, and go from there making about Yoongi. Things change, time change, everything change, story change, but you are still same. I don't forget the day, Jimin. I He think and up his sleeves a little bit and say Jimin name. Gi have in his also now. Yoongi go from the room and see Jimin sit on the couch. He see him and Jimin roll his eyes so perfectly to see Yoongi. You don't have any work. Huh. The next scene is Jimin, his granny, puts it on her shoulder. And don't look at Yoongi. Mrs. Kim, come home soon, son. It's not to stay outside in night. Jungkook, yes, auntie, we come home soon. Mrs. Kim, take care, she said, and they go. Taeyang come with the popcorn. Jimin snatch from him and start to eat. Taeyang, Jimin, not today. Jimin, go and make yours. Taeyang, you, he said, and cushion on his face. Jimin plays on the side and eating popcorn. Taeyang, give me some also, he said, and Jimin, do the elders go? They both are sit now together. Taeyang, Jimin, I said you something, he said, and Jimin sit beside him on the couch. Jimin, Taeyang, that bunny, he said, and eat. He said and ate popcorn. Jimin, what happened with him? What happened with him, Taeyang? I think he started to me, he said, being excited. Jimin stopped. Jimin, What? Really? Taeyang, yeah, he asked me before going if I want something, and I also start to him. Jimin, amazing. It's not even 1 week past he's here, and you start to talk about all this, Taeyang. Taeyang, come on, Jimin. Don't you hear it at first sight? But still, it's been 5 days past he's here. Jimin, he's Taeyang, I don't know. Jimin, you do this, he said, and gave him a plan, and both become excited. Taeyang, yes, we do this, he said, and become happy. Jimin, so it's final? Taeyang, yes, let's go. Jimin, where Taeyang, let's make noodles and eat, he said, and they both go in the kitchen. It's night time. It's night time. Mrs. Kim set them to serve YoOngI and Jungkook coffee, and Taeyang too. Jimin sit on the side making his assignment. Jungkook and YoOngI is talking. Jungkook thanks Jimin, no problem, he said, and Taeyang, no problem, he said, and look at Jimin. He went toward Jimin and sit in front of him. Jimin wear glasses. Taeyang, Jimin, Taeyang, you talk with Young, he said, and Jimin looked at him, become confused, and then he realized Jimin, oh no. Yoongi and Jungkook heard them, but both pretend they are talking. Taeyang, talk with him, please. What's it, Jimin? I am surely not going to do this. Yoongi is here, and he start to hand how someone think to talk with him. And who is he? Young what, Jimin? You and here look at yourself, he said, and Jimin feel another type of he look at Yoongi, who was already looking at him, and then he look at Taeyang. He don't know why, but he don't want to talk in front of him about this. He himself said Taeyang all this, but he not think not in front of Yoongi. Taeyang, you speak or not? Jungkook sign final. Jungkook, something happens, guys. Jimin, no, Taeyang, yeah, he is not talking with this, he said, and Jimin gave him. Jungkook, oh wow, Jimin, I think you are still, he said, and look at Yoongi with his side. Yoongi, it's because of him. Jimin, it's because of him. Jungkook, because of Taeyang. Jimin, yeah, his friend. That's why he said to me to be in. Jungkook, he, someone else. He asked, and Jimin nodded. Taeyang, huh? Me? Jungkook, we are. Jungkook, we are talking about you, Jimin. You tell me. Jimin, I don't know anything. I think auntie called me. Taeyang, no one call you, Jimin. He hold his hand. Jimin, no. I heard her voice. I checked. He set free his hand and he run from there. Taeyang become, he will surely Jimin. Yoongi also go from there without saying anything. Now Jungkook and Taeyang is left. Taeyang, I see Jimin. He about to go, but Jungkook stop him. Jungkook, you really someone? He said, and Taeyang stop. He see him. Jungkook, I start to you, Taeyang, and I think you also. And I think you also do, but you already someone. Why don't you tell me? Taeyang see him and his Jungkook, I won't answer. Taeyang, I don't anyone. Nor Jimin isn't. We both are. I just want to confirm your feelings, he said being, and Jungkook sighed in real life. Jungkook, you make me. Why you why all this drama? You ask me directly. Taeyang, I feel if you said no and I become, he said, then Jungkook chuckled. Jungkook, you don't, as I really you so much, he said, then Taeyang smiled. Taeyang, me too. Jungkook, you what? Taeyang, he almost whispered. Jungkook, what? He started him and Taeyang started whining just like a kid. Huh, bunny. That makes sense about you. Jimin coming downstairs, Jimin coming downstairs, Yoongi come and he hold his hand. Jimin see him. Yoongi, whom you? Huh? You don't anyone expect me, he said in his voice, and we said Jimin become no way. Yoongi, you don't anyone expect me. Your time everything is. Remember this, Jimin, he said, and Jimin feeling butterflies is dancing. He looking down and his cheeks turned. Yoongi, I the person whom you. Jimin, I don't anyone, he said and looked at him. Jimin actually, he explained him everything like his plan. He do everything for Taeyang to confirm Jungkook feelings and all that. And Yoongi leave his hand, his sign in real life. Yoongi, don't even try. Don't even try to do this again. Remember this, he said, and about to go upstairs. Jimin, Yoongi stopped. He didn't turn. Jimin went toward him. Jimin, you said me don't anyone I stay for whole life, he said, and Yoongi turned. Yoongi, he said, and Jimin signed. Jimin, you go London. Yoongi, just wait and watch, he said, and go from there. Jimin signed to see him. He about to go downstairs, but his head started to. He sit on the stairs there and close his eyes. Let's get now. No, Yoongi, I want you to talk with my parents, talk with my dad. He sees some flashbacks and hardly open his eyes. Jimin, Yoongi, the words whisper from his. The word whisper. Jimin is walking in the Jimin is walking in the garden when Taeyang come and start to jumping in happiness. Jimin, wow, brother, wait, what happened? Taeyang see this, he said, and show him his finger where is a beautiful diamond ring is shining. Jimin, wow, it's so beautiful. Taeyang, yeah, I know. Jungkook gave me this. Jimin, Jungkook, huh? Really? He said, being surprised. Taeyang, yes, and he said to me he talked with his dad about me. Moreover, that is coming back, and if they're his his father talk with dad, then they do that soon. Jimin, amazing. Taeyang, this is really a good news. Taeyang, yes, he said, and again started jumping. Jimin, now why this? Taeyang, I am excited and feeling. Jimin, why? Taeyang, he said he'd take me out. Jimin, huh? Really? Wow, Taeyang. Taeyang, yeah, Jimin, everything is so unexpected. Jimin, yeah, it's true. Everything is so unexpected, he said while thinking something. And then Taeyang raised his eyebrow. Taeyang, what happened? Jimin sighed. No, Jimin, nothing. You go and decide your dress. Let me decide. था 20 minutes. Jungkook and Yoongi. Jungkook and Yoongi sit on the couch talking with each other. Yoongi raised his eyebrow. Jungkook, what? I start to him. Yoongi, your story is already complete in past, Jungkook. And now again? Huh, don't you tired? He said and rolled his eyes. Jungkook, we promise with each other to be together forever. Yoongi, whatever. Jungkook, okay, okay, now what you do? Yoongi, what's his age now? Jungkook, like 60 to 60, 60 to 62. Yoongi and his, Jungkook, she is not in this. He said, then Yoongi looked at him. Yoongi, what happened with him? Jungkook, I read an article. Yoongi, he did something, I know. Said and Jungkook. And said and Jungkook also agreed. Jungkook, right, we don't trust him. Yoongi, he's still in his mansion. Jungkook, yeah, he's. But Yoongi, it's not easy. It's not so easy. First, you have to tell Jimin everything and see he remember everything or not. Yoongi, leave that on me. Jungkook, and you remember the boy who? Yoongi, look at him. Jungkook, when I see them, one of them have his ID and he's with and he said and Jungkook, I think he know about Jimin and he want to. By the way, why he do that? Yoongi, he see Jimin. He understand again. Repeat Jungkook, and it's for Jimin. Yoongi, I know what I have to do. Hmm. You think I don't do till now? He said, and Jungkook sighed. Jungkook, I ask as I don't see you talk with him till now, Yoongi. To remember the everything, Yoongi, you don't think about this. Check his department, he said, and And after that, he have so many important works to do. Huh. The next scene is And here is the Jimin sit on Jimin sit on the bed and writing his assignment silently. Taeyang go out with Jungkook. Mrs. Kim and Granny is not at home, and the maids is also go in their respective rooms. Jimin don't talk with Yoongi like 2 to 3 days pass. Yoongi don't call him. Jimin himself don't try to talk with him. But something is him. The most in these 2 to 3 days, Jimin feel like he's something really important. That's why the most of the time Jimin feel like this. He's one and all that from when Yoongi come in his life. It's happened. The door open. Jimin is so busy he don't notice, and then the door closed. Jimin heard the voice. He look up and Jimin look up and see Yoongi again start to write his assignment. Yoongi stand on the side and start to admiring him. Jimin also decided to ignore him. Where were he from last some days? Now he come to meet him. 10 minutes pass. Jimin don't look at him and continue his work. Yoongi sit on the couch there. Jimin become confused. He finally look at him. Jimin, what you want, Yoongi? This Jimin, what Yoongi? To talk with you, he said in his serious voice. Jimin, you were always like this, or just with me? Yoongi, just with you. Jimin mind. Oh, so he is just called with me. Jimin, go from here. I don't want to talk with you. Yoongi, listen him. No. Jimin, okay, I go. He about to go. He about to go. Yoongi hold his hand and is on. Jimin see him with his widened eyes and then start to think something. Leave everything. Yoongi, please. I stay with you in a small house. I give you more better lifestyle than this. He see a little clear version of someone hold by and she's telling him. Jimin him and he sit on the bed. Jimin, go from there. Don't you to come here again, he asked him. But Yoongi stay calm and Jimin is so another level. It's just to want him to go from here. Yoongi, how much you run from the reality, Jimin? He said, and Jimin becomes silent for some time as he don't know what he do. Hmm. Yoongi, are not you become tired, Jimin? 20 years pass. I wait for you 7 years. Okay, so Yoongi is 7 years elder than him. Don't you become by all this? How can you are happy without me? He said, and Jimin don't understand what he is saying. Yoongi, you know what? The wait, don't me. You forget me, it's me the more. He said, and Jimin still silent. He don't have any answer of his question. Jimin eyes one by one start to roll from his eyes. Yoongi, I am still same Jimin, but you are not. I am still with you, but you don't. I am still behind you, but you don't. He said then Jimin is not understanding anything. Like what's happening, Yoongi? Hmm. Yoongi stand up and went Yoongi stand up and went toward him. Jimin with the bag. Yoongi, see this. I spent these years on this. See this. He said then up his sleeves and show him the his Jimin see him and his eyes widen. Yoongi, why don't you have this? Why? He said and Jimin see him. He slowly up his sleeve a little bit and Yoongi see his hand. This is name too, but it's and have because of it it's to read the name. If you all remember Jimin his eyes also. Yoongi see and he stop. Yoongi still you need to understand something and one time he said and back he chuckled. Yoongi, Jimin finish my weight. he almost and go from there and start to fall from his eyes one by one. He hid his face in his palm and start to. He is not understanding what's happening with him, what Jung is talking about, and what all this. The thing Yoongi Yoongi said all this. He dreams and everything. It's make him. He don't so by his and cover himself with the blanket and start to. Jimin don't know when he fell in sleep. He wake up by the sun rays. He adjusts his sign and sit for some times. He really don't want to go out from the room, but he have to. He sign and fresh him, then also go downstairs as Triang is already there. Hmm. This is Jimin come and see Taeyang. He went toward him and sit beside him. Taeyang saw you wake up. Jimin, you were not in the room. Taeyang, I wake up early. Jimin, when you come back last night, Taeyang around 12 or 1. Jimin nodded. Taeyang, you are sounding low. Everything is okay? Jimin, yeah, I am okay. Taeyang, I don't think. Jimin, I am really okay, Taeyang. Taeyang, if you are saying, he said, and again start to watch the reels. Jimin also joined them. Granny, come, Granny, Jimin. Jimin, yes. His eyes is still on the mobile. Granny, can you go market to take my med? Jimin, she said, and Jimin remember, and sometimes ago happens with him. Jimin, Granny, send someone else. Granny, you always give me. Metso go, Jimin. Granny go, Jimin. She said, and Jimin stays silent. Jimin, it's daytime. I go. He think and nodded. He stand up, taking the slip off the mat and look at Granny with the pouch. But she go. Tiang, Jimin, Tete, let's go. Tiang, where Jimin to bring mat? Tiang na. I have to go to meet Jungkook on the road. Jimin is walking on the road. He is looking so right now. He is walking fastly as he is coming back, and it's the same street again. Jimin, oh God, please. Now they don't come. If they come, then send Yoongi. Well, Yoongi, you wish, and I am here. He said, and Jimin stopped. He turned and see Yoongi stand there. Jimin see him, he smiled a little bit, but then come in the reality. He looked into another side and about to go. Yoongi started to walk with him. Then Jimin is smiling. Yoongi saw you last night, he said. Then Jimin see him. He stopped. Yoongi, me, I promise I just come to check on you. I just come to see you, don't but you don't leave me, he said simply. And Jimin cheeks turned. Jimin, that was a Young, it's really beautiful, he said. And Jimin see him. Jimin, let's go home. Yoongi, thanks. Something ask. Think something ask from me. Something, uh, if you don't remember anything. Jimin heard the nickname. He is so fast, and it's him. Jimin, wait till I remember everything. Yoongi, again, wait, Jimin, you do is 27 years, so now it's okay. Yoongi, and you 20, you have to. He said, and Jimin shocked. Jimin, we will see. He said, and start to walk. Yoongi stand there. Yoongi, that's not right. Jimin, everything is right. He said, and Jimin see him. He turned and started to walk. And here is the Jimin sit on. Jimin sit on the terrace. Jimin sit on the terrace. Stares in the corner and seeing the when Yoongi come and Jimin see him. Jimin are always so fast whenever Yoongi come. Yoongi. Jimin. Jimin, it's Jimin. He said, Jan again. See his and Yoongi hold his hand. See the place. Jimin see him. He don't, said something. Yoongi back, and he looked at Jimin. 5 मिनट रह गया सिर्फ रुक जा मेरा तो 5 मिनट रह गया हूँ मैं की स्टॉप करना यार only 5 minutes are left this is a 46 Jimin looking down Yoongi what happened Jimin I really don't remember anything he said in low voice Yoongi it's good trust me it's a lot Jimin if in past we were together Yoongi, tell me what's how we meet and also or not if we get how we apart what happened. He asked so many questions. Yoongi closed his eyes. Jimin hands caressing his ears. Jimin Yoongi, I ask you something. Yoongi we each other. But then we got and that he said and Jimin stopped. Yoongi opened his eyes. Jimin is saying him with done face. Jimin really? Yoongi sighed. Yoongi sit and Jimin placed his head on his shoulder. Yoongi, so you were the son of the, and I was your father. Decide your father decides your. Okay, so the next scene is starts soon. Oh my, with someone else you don't know about. You don't know about my profession and Jimin and you do with me. But after that you go on and there you were by the and 2 years past that you. He said and look at him. He said and look at him. His eyes is shining and the is shining in his eyes. He see the scene is Yoongi cupped his face. Yoongi, why you yourself? Jimin see the Jimin you your Yoongi Jimin what I do without you he said being Yoongi see him Yoongi don't be like this don't be Jimin see him Jimin Yoongi who Yoongi means Jimin I am not a young brother I mean I was kid when granny take me here and auntie take care of me a lot like Taeyang, maybe more than Taeyang. Yoongi, that's not the point. We come back with him now. He said, and Jimin stays silent. He see the in his hand. Yoongi, you believe me, Jimin? Jimin see him. Jimin, I said you everything by myself. He said, and Yoongi sighed. Yoongi, I wait so long. Jimin, if you don't come, I will be really like this. Yoongi, you never had about this Jimin trust me that don't let me sleep Jimin it's true but Taeyang always said me maybe I watch so many movies that's why it happens he said simply and Yoongi only 2 minutes voiceover are left 2 minutes voiceover Jimin back him the most the word is far from them. After some time they back and Yoongi on his both. Jimin Yoongi look at him and his eyes is Jimin sign as though Jimin no Yoongi Jimin smiled. Jimin why you were we are together again. See Yoongi nodded and Jimin chuckled to say him. Yoongi Jimin nothing he said and Yoongi thinks something Yoongi we were in past see we still each other so it's mean we were Jimin really he asked being last scene and the third last text this is I just wrote a voiceover and here is I just see last the second last is confused Jimin maybe Yoongi no it's true Jimin so Yoongi so what he said and Jimin see him and then he understand Jimin no Yoongi don't you let me Jimin no Yoongi we get in this life also first and then Yoongi, you were now also Jimin, but not this. Yoongi, you know You know me well. That what's my Jimin Yumi Yoongi you. He said then Jimin is not and stand up Yoongi Jimin. Come here and sit. Jimin na I am sleepy Yoongi Jimin come here sit for some time Jimin. No sleep now good night he said and he ran from there Yoongi sighed and he also go from there. He remember everything it's mean Taeyang also do. No this is the last scene and third last text finish. Hmm. Last scene and the second last text. Jimin come in. Jimin come in the room. He's so happy. Taeyang seeing him who was eating ice cream and raised his eyebrow. Jimin went toward him and placed the ice cream on the table. Taeyang Kyung tell you reality. Jimin back and see him. Taeyang I once again meet my cookie. He said then both become happy and started laughing. Jimin you were still here. Jimin I am feeling Taeyang I am feeling he said then cutely smiled. Jimin chuckled and both start to eat the ice cream and tell each other their past stories each and every moment and both are enjoying a lot and feels next day Jimin stand in front of the mirror and hold the pendant. Just some seconds are left and some seconds are left. Huh. Okay, last scene and the last text. Hold the pendant. Jimin remember Yoongi said, "When you for me," he sign and the pendant shine. Then he go downstairs and I will make the next part soon. That will be the last part. Hope so you all like. If you like, then subscribe and tell me in comments. Take care of yourselves. Sarange. See you soon in the next video.